Hello, everybody. My name is Mark.
I'm Mary Ann, and we're from Campo di Bella.
Yeah, I was going to say welcome to this week's podcast. And what are we going to talk about this week?
Well, you've got a list, so let's get right to it. So I think what we were going to do is announce that we made a whole bunch of lasagna bologneses yesterday. We made quite a few for those of you that don't want to go out for Valentine's Day, but would like a romantic Italian meal. Think A Lady and the Tramp without the spaghetti, and just a gorgeous pasta lasagna, traditional lasagna bolognese with a good glass of wine. I've got a couple of wines out there that I've posted if you want to buy a bottle from us. And then make sure that you order a great loaf of bread to go with that.
Are you
lasagna.
Suggesting on the tramp?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. So you made me feel guilty last week about the lasagna because it is a tedious process, but we went through it and we got it done yesterday and everything's in the freezer and all set. So we've got plenty for the to-go store.
Right.
Okay.
And so we're all set for all of you that love the traditional lasagna bolognese. Now, remember, the traditional lasagna bolognese does not have ricotta in it. It's done Italian style. We learned that the last time we were in Italy a few years ago. Gosh, it feels so odd saying a few years ago, but I think it's almost 3 years now, 2 or 3 years that we haven't been to Italy. And having a conversation with our cousins, we learned that they do not put ricotta in their lasagna bolognese, which was stunning and yet wonderfully delightful to learn. And once we made it, we know why, because it's so good their way. So
Yeah, it's not a Northern Italian thing, the ricotta. It's more of a...
Yeah, I don't know what I want to say it's Italian-American. I'm not even sure it's Southern Italian, but we've not been south of Rome, so we cannot confirm that it's not Southern Italian. But Northern Italian-Americans have grown up with ricotta in their lasagna, and that is not how our cousins do it. So
No, but we still do that for our vegetarian lasagna.
for the vegetarian, we do include the ricotta in it. Yes, we do. So yeah.
Anyway,
So definitely keep that in mind, and we'll come back to the options and availability for next weekend's Valentine's dinner. But for now, just know that we made a whole big bunch of them. And somebody asked me in an email this week, how our portions go. For the takeout meals, those are single person portions. For the to-go items, the majority of the soups and the lasagnas are 2 people main course, 4 people first course. And Mark's posted that on our website when you're looking at the individual items and stuff like that. So keep that in mind when you're ordering our to-go items.
Yeah, and the directions on how to cook it are also on the website for you.
Best thing to do, though, is just have a thermometer. What are those things called? A thermometer? The food thermometer? And
those things are called a thermometer that check temperature.
No, I know. I meant the thing. Yeah. Anyway, just 180, and then you know it's cooked for good, and you're good to go. So take those times with a grain of salt, because the last time it took us a little longer than what you originally said it would take.
It's one of those new modern convenience devices, something that measured temperature.
Yeah, the thermometer.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway,
so the main topic we wanted to talk to you guys about this week is seed. So thankfully, we have placed all our orders for a seed, and we are all set for the season. But this was kind of prompted from an issue last year. So last year with the start of the pandemic...
Well, wait.
Wait for what?
Give a little history about how we got started with seeds and how we started to develop our love for ordering seeds in January and all that stuff.
Well, that was our New Year's kind of ritual. So either New Year's Day or New Year's Eve, we started ordering seeds January 1st or January 2nd for the remainder of the year. But some needed to be ordered in advance, which we'll get to a little bit later.
Right, but we started it when we were just us as a family. We didn't worry about when to order seeds. We'd go to the grocery store. We'd go wherever to buy little packets of seeds. But then when we became a commercial CSA, we realized that there was a process and a calendar for when to order certain seeds and make sure that the varieties you want are available and stuff like that.
Right. So typically we order the first week of January, but just going back...
The seed catalogs come out that week too.
Going back to last year, one thing I did forget, and that was a big no-no, and I forgot to order the onions and the leeks. And those, we used to attempt to grow onions from seed, but it was just a big pain. So what we usually do is we order onion plants. They look like small little straws. They come in bunches. Same thing with the leeks. And they're usually shipped from our supplier sometime in maybe April or so. And we get them as live plants and we go ahead and plant them. But last year, for whatever reason, I forgot to order them. So I remember that probably in maybe middle of March sometime. So I actually went on the Johnny's Seed website to order.
Wait a minute. It wasn't on your to-do list?
It wasn't. I don't know why I forgot, but I forgot.
Oh, okay. He's admitting it. He made a mistake. Okay.
So anyway, once I logged on, this is the start of the pandemic, I saw that they had restricted orders to commercial CSAs and farmers only.
This was last
year. This is last spring. Okay. So I got in and I placed an order for the onion plants and the leek plants, and thankfully they shipped and we were able to plant them. But I got on a few weeks later and they had restricted ordering, and they were just out of a lot of stuff. They were out of seed. So the whole pandemic prompted a lot of people to start ordering seeds and plants for home gardening, which I think is absolutely great. But
I know you're gaga over this whole home gardening, like be your prepper, get all your food from your own garden.
It's not necessarily a prepper thing. It's just going back to just growing your own food and having your food available at your house or on your farm. Or
I know, but we've been doing it for over 10 years now, so it's not something, nothing that we're not surprised at. But you're right. There's quite a few of my acquaintances on Facebook have actually built their own greenhouses in their suburban backyards so that they can, and remodeled their backyards so that they have raised beds and stuff like that and can grow their own. Which
is great. People should be doing that. I highly encourage that, and you guys should be growing your own food.
I think urban gardening is the way to look at it. Like, especially those of you living out in the city and stuff like that, pot planting and lots of cool different things going on.
What do you mean by pot planting?
Oh, no, like planting in a pot, not other pot
planting.
No, okay. I'm not. I mean, we can get into that whole subject of hemp and CBD and all that a whole nother time. Not that I'm very knowledgeable. But no.
We won't.
I'm talking about planting in a pot kind of thing.
You can just plant it in your ground. You can dig up your lawn and just plant in your
But if they live in the city and they don't, like our friends who live in apartments, they don't have actual lawns. They could have pot planters and pots that they can put certain plants in.
You could do vertical gardening. I understand that.
Anyway. And we haven't even touched on hydroponics and all that jazz.
Yeah.
Yes. Anyway, cool stuff. Okay, keep going.
So anyway, I ordered, what did I do today? I just logged into the Johnny's website just to see where things were headed. And again, just due to such an increased demand, they did suspend home garden orders placement until February 10th. So if you're a home gardener and you try to order today, you'd be out of luck. It's just restricted to CSAs and commercial growers and farmers, but they will open that back up on February 10th. I checked Fedco and other suppliers. They seem to be open. And from what I understand, it's not necessarily a seed shortage. It's just an increased demand, and people and the companies are just feeling the pressure because they don't have the capacity, the capacity to fill these seed orders and ship everything out. So they're kind of throttling things a little bit and getting more staff.
Where was that article from that you sent me this morning?
Yeah, that was just an NPR article that I saw this morning.
Was it? Okay. So there was definitely a great article about that. The other thing, for those of you that are home gardeners, consider going to your local library, because I know here at Mount Horeb they have had in the past a seed exchange where people would donate seed, and you could go if you're not set on a certain varietal or a certain name or a certain type of vegetable, you might want to explore some of the cool and new ones that other people have tried. And they have like a seed exchange where they put it out there, and I'm assuming you just I don't know if you rent it from the library. I don't know. And then you bring it back if you don't use up all the seeds. I'm not really sure how that works. But
I don't think you can rent a seed.
No, I'm just saying, like, the library lends you a book. So are they lending you seed And then do you give back whatever you don't use, or do you have to use it to use
the plants
it?
form the seeds again. So if you're going to seed save, then you just bring back probably at the end of the season.
Yeah, and we know quite a few farmer friends who have done that as well, who have saved their seeds from one year to the next.
And we'll get into that in a little bit later on. But the main people that we actually order seed from are Johnny's, and we discovered just a few years ago that there's a great company just down the road from us, AP Whaley.
Here in Blue Mounds.
Yeah, here in Blue Mounds. And they're a great company, and they have locally produced seed, and they do get seed from other places as well, but they're a local supplier. So all we really need to do is drive less than 5 minutes and pick up our seed from them and drive back home.
Well, we know one of their employees, and she's nice enough to drop off.
And she's nice
wonderful. She
drives,
she home delivers, which is amazing.
Yeah. And other companies too. So Territorial Seed, and who else?
Seed Savers?
Seed Savers.
Out of Iowa,
Burpee.
Right? Is Seed Savers out of Iowa?
Yeah.
Seed Savers Exchange out of Iowa.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I can't forget Vermont Valley. So Vermont Valley is where we get all our seed potatoes from.
Vermont Valley Community Farm is out of Vermont, Wisconsin here, and they have been...
The town of Vermont.
Township of Vermont, and they have been a CSA farm for many, many, many years, and have been our spotlighted. One of the founding
CSAs.
I don't know if they were founding or not.
One of the founding CSAs.
Let's just say they got in the early years, and they have now retired the CSA business, and their son has picked up their seed potato business. And wonderful, wonderful family, great people. And we've had them as spotlighted producers for our farm to table dinners quite a few times, as well as have called them in for different vegetable requests, like zucchini flowers and tomatoes and stuff like that. So yeah, great people.
So the other one that we order from is Row 7 Seed, and they've been around for a few years, but it's a relatively new company, and they're associated with the chef Dan Barber out east. And I think the whole premise of the company is to grow seeds and to make seeds for vegetables that are flavorful.
Explain
and they're not necessarily grown for, because a lot of the seeds nowadays are just produced and hybridized for commercial growers, so the end product, the tomato, can survive shipping from California to the Midwest without being blemished at all, and it looks perfect.
Right.
But it tastes like
volume.
Yeah, it tastes like cardboard.
Yeah, volume. So we've lost the taste of the fruit or vegetable, and we're more focused on the longevity or shelf life of a fruit or vegetable, because then we're able to sell it and we get more bang for our buck.
Yeah, so Row 7 is going back and actually producing seed and vegetables.
So he has
a
restaurant in two places.
Yeah, I'm still talking here.
Well, I'm just explaining that
is to actually produce it for flavor instead of durability.
So the reason he started this collaboration with the farm and with there was one other person. There were 3 people involved in Row 7 Seed. I can't remember who they were.
I don't know who the other owners are. But
Chef Dan Barber is a chef out of Manhattan, but he also owns a restaurant in upstate New York called Blue Hill
at Stone Barns.
At Stone Barns. And that's
they're like the
that's
ultimate
what's driving
in sustainability.
him. Yeah, exactly. The restaurant itself was a sustainable restaurant. But that's what drove him to get involved in this collaboration. And so go ahead now.
Yeah. So we get a lot of our seed from Row 7 as well. The one that we get that we're really happy with is the center cut squash. And it's kind of a substitute for the zucchini. It's kind of almost like a cross between a butternut squash and a zucchini. And you can kind of see that in the way the plant produces the fruits. But anyway, it's a great plant, and we use all the zucchini flowers for various recipes. We'll stuff them with ricotta and Parmesan cheese, and bread them with panko, and fry them for an appetizer for our dinners in summertime. So they're a great variety.
And a zucchini lasagna.
And zucchini lasagna too. So we'll do the zucchini lasagna and make zucchini pasta and a whole bunch of other stuff.
Well, and then we take the trunk of it, because it's shaped like a trumpet.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird shaped, and it grows up. So we've started to grow it so that it kind of is on a cow
Trellis.
panel, on a
It's
trellis.
trellis, yeah.
So, and it lasted, the season was very long this last year for those.
Yeah, they've got...
They have a nice length of season compared to a normal zucchini plant per se.
Yeah, they've got a very long summer life.
Yeah,
they produce throughout most of the season. Yeah. So as far as planting is concerned, so we kind of have to start early, and the things we need to start the year before are the garlic and shallots. So we order our garlic in bulbs, and we also order our shallots in bulbs as well. So that stuff needs to be planted when everything else is done for the season. So that means in the end of October, early November, when we till our soil and remove everything and clean everything, we have to re-till a section and then plant those the garlic cloves and also the shallot bulbs by hand, so they have a time to germinate and overwinter and germinate the next spring very early on and have time to get established. But that's one of the only things we really plant in fall. And then as the season moves on, come January, we order some of our seed. And then on March, we are starting to actually seed things in the greenhouse, right?
Yes. In the past, we have tried a couple different places to start seeding the dining room, the CSA cooler with heat lamps and heaters and stuff. But this has worked for us the best, is the actual little greenhouse that we've created attached to the barn with a heater and some plastic to keep everything nice and toasty warm, and using sun to really...
Yeah, so it was an old milk house, and it had a tin roof that was insulated, so we had to remove all that and get rid of that. And then I put a kind of a clear polycarbonate roof on top of it, cleaned everything up, and then we put little mat heaters on, especially for the tomatoes. We have a small heater in there as well, and we enclose everything in plastic, so even when the temperature drops down to the 20s, at least it's getting sunshine and getting some warmth from the sun, and also supplemental warmth from the heater that we put in there in March. But we start in March, so we're seeding everything in trays before we put everything out. And then we transplant. So the things that we start up front are our microgreens, which we love early on in the season because they look great to decorate things and have as kind of accents to the dishes that we serve on Friday and Saturday nights.
And they're great little springtime salad, like just a little bit of green in your mouth. It's just wonderful to have lettuce greens. Yeah,
it's the first thing you see in the season. So, I mean, that's wonderful. One of the most welcoming things that you find early on in the season. Otherwise, we grow endive, and we start all the salad in 72 count trays. And we just prepare those and do at least 1 or 2 trays every week in preparation for transplanting.
So when we started as a CSA at the beginning, we didn't know anything about succession planting. We kind of just thought that you planted everything at the same time. And then when it all came up at the same time, you were so exhausted harvesting the same vegetable and not knowing what to do with all of that volume of vegetable. I'm thinking green beans in particular. Before we started succession planting green beans, we had a buttload of green beans to harvest during that season. Now, if you kind of taper them from week to week to week, you're only harvesting a quarter of the season, and it's really kind of nice. And that's how the lettuce works. We harvest what we need, and the lettuce keeps growing, and we can get usually 2 cuttings from our lettuce plantings.
Yeah, and that's how we practice seasonality as far as the restaurant's concerned. The greens will start coming up probably the mid to late May, and that's when we start incorporating them in our menus, the fresh spring salad, the fresh summer salad, and that'll go through, if we plant another tray every single week, it'll get us through probably the end of June to mid-July or so. And then after that, we direct seed the kale and the Swiss chard, and then those greens start taking over, and we start doing the kale salads based on that. But that's all grown in our culinary garden. I can't talk. And then the tomatoes are all started from seed, and the varieties we've kind of transitioned away to a certain select varieties. We have cherry tomatoes because we found that those are just perfect in salads. We get multicolored cherry tomatoes, and we can have those served as a main course, and they look beautiful with the variety of colors. And there's also a hybrid that I think came out of Rose, and I'm not sure it was Rose 7, but I think it was out east maybe by Dan Barber, called Mountain Magic. And they're golf ball sized tomatoes that are kind of packed with flavor.
I call plum tomatoes.
They're just Mountain Magic tomatoes. So they're about golf ball sized, and they roast perfectly. Yeah. And they also, we freeze them in preparation for winter to use them in winter dishes. And what else? The flowers. We also start all our flowers that you see on the farm are started in spring. So all the violas, the nasturtium, those are all edible flowers that we use that are started from seed, and we transplant into by the raised beds in the wine house and also in the planters. What else do we grow?
I was going to say, not only just the edible flowers, but the flowers that decorate the wine house through the summer and fall months. We start planting those as well in the springtime and stuff. So it's not like we've go out and buy them. We grow it ourselves.
Yeah.
As much as you can. Now, he's being really generous about this. Ideally, we would see some of these things when he talks about it, but it all really plays into what Mother Nature is going to do to us that year, and whether or not we're going to have a short salad season or a long salad season, or a short tomato season or a long tomato season. Mother Nature is the one that dictates to us how we're going to handle that. So we just have to be flexible with her.
Yeah. So what else are we going to grow this year? What else are we going to have in the culinary garden?
I don't know. You ordered the seeds. I didn't order the seeds, So, Marco gets all Julie when the seeds catalogs come in, and then he says, okay, you have until the 15th to give me your ideas, and by January 10th, he's already placed the orders. So, honestly, he doesn't really want my opinion. He just wants to say that he did give me an option to put in what I like, but he knows from year to year the things I really like. So, I think you ordered my romesco, right? Did you?
I did, but that's for us. That's for
I know, but I'm just saying you did order some of it. And we downsized the cabbage quantities, I hope. Yeah,
the red cabbage, we don't really go through that much.
We just can't. We just don't, we don't have a need for it as much.
Yeah, but just as kind of a general overview, we used to have probably at least 2 acres. The vineyard was 1 acre, and the CSA fields, we just pared down from year to year until they got smaller and smaller. And last year, we just went to the concept of a single culinary garden. We pulled most of our old grapevines, since a lot of them died due to the polar vortex that we had. So we're down to probably 6 good rows, which we can intensively take care of in the culinary garden. So those are our grapes that we use to make the wine. And then we put in 2 smaller plots, probably, what are they, 20 by 60?
I don't know, you measured.
Yeah, I think they're 20 by 60. And one plot is reserved for potatoes, and it's interspersed with beans.
And squash.
So we do groups of 3. So there's 1 row of potatoes, 1 row of beans, and 1 row of potatoes, and then that repeats 2 more times on each side. Mm-hmm. So the benefit of that is that the beans act to increase the nitrogen in the soil by nitrogen-fixing bacteria. So it supplies a little bit of nutrients for the potatoes, so the potatoes can actually grow a little bit better. And in the other plot that we have just all the kind of routine vegetables that we grow, and the salad greens.
Although we're not growing celery this year, right? We opted not to grow celery.
I think we're going to grow celeriac. We can harvest the leaves for that and just do the benefits of the celeriac too. But one thing we did last year was we grew some corn. We grew some ornamental corn, and we actually harvested it and we dried it. And what did we do with it this week?
We made pozole, which I just finished today.
Yeah, and it was good.
Yeah, it was very good. I didn't eat all the corn kernels because there were just too many at the bottom of the bowl. But yeah.
It didn't turn out as well as I expected, but it was good. So, but there's
the colors on the corn cobs were gorgeous.
Yeah, and we got the corn from AP Whaley, and that was beautiful.
They were ornamental. I mean, even if we didn't eat them, they were still beautiful to look at and very decorative. But I'm glad that we tried to make a humney from it.
And that's kind of a long process too. I mean, you've got to dry the corn and then you've got to actually add calcium hydroxide to it in a certain proportion, then simmer it on the stove for about 30 minutes to 45 minutes. That's called nixtamalization.
I'm positive that the Mexican grandmas did not do that.
Yes, they did. That's the whole process. It was
well, they didn't have calcium, whatever.
The calcium hydroxide, yeah, they had.
In what?
They probably had ash or something else that was basic that they added to the hard corn kernels to soften it and remove the outer layers.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They didn't have the scientific term.
No,
they had what's in their cupboards.
We learned the science later on, but they probably made the whole process themselves, and we just learned from it and discovered what it was.
Yeah. So we'll need to ask somebody's abuela. Anyway.
So where are we going from here?
I don't know. What were you saying?
So, so getting towards the end of the season, so all the stuff we have in the garden that we can store. The potatoes we grow and we harvest at the end of the season, and we have Potato Fest, invite a few friends or family members over, and we harvest all the potatoes, harvest all the onions.
Last year we just had Massimo and his guy friends come over and do the harvest because you and I are tired of bending over so much, and I think we paid them in pizza.
Yeah, I think we gave them pizza. So they did most of the hard work. And
they did. They did a lot of the bending and picking up and stuff. As much as I love the potato harvest, it's a bit grueling on your back.
Yeah, the older we get, the more painful it is. So what do we do with the potatoes and the onions?
No, we just cure them in the garage for a little bit, and then we put them in the blue crates, and then we put them in the cooler, in the cellar down in the White House.
So the onions go in the cellar, and the potatoes go in the cooler. And along with that, we also have the butternut squash. So all the potatoes, all the onion dishes you guys get in winter and fall and early spring are from our stock of potatoes and onions and winter squash. And same thing with the shallots. So the shallots are wonderful to add in salads.
Depending on the season.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the leeks, we take the leeks and we freeze them.
Yeah.
And what else? The kale and the Swiss chard.
The zucchini
we use in minestrone.
For minestrone.
Yep. All that's frozen. But
the other day you used zucchini in one of our frittatas. For our vegetarian option.
Yep.
Just jazz up the frittata for somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, we do as much as we possibly can to eat the vegetable at its prime, but if we can't eat it at its prime, or if we have too much of it, we're always thinking about how we can use it down the road for those winter months when there's nothing out in the fields, and you want that August taste of tomato or that July taste of strawberry or something of that sort.
Yeah, but there are some restrictions and some roadblocks to actually doing what they do in Europe. So for an example, I don't want to get into this
But this is from us because we're a commercial entity, is what you're saying, right? You're talking about the HACCP plan, right?
The home gardeners can do all this without any difficulty. I mean, they
if
can
you're
take
a home gardener, you can
freeze
your stuff with no problem. You just need your freezer
and do whatever
space.
you want. You can take the currants we have on property. We freeze. We can do that. But as a commercial restaurant business, we actually had to have public health came in and said, "Well, you're freezing your vegetables." Yeah, we are. And how are you doing that? So, well, we're freezing them and we're vacuum sealing them for freshness so they don't get freezer burnt. Well, that's an anaerobic environment. So you just introduce something else. So instead of just putting them in the freezer, you now have to have a HACCP plan for that. So what's a HACCP plan?
Go ahead. Tell them what it is.
So it's hazard analysis, critical control points. So this is kind of a detailed examination of what
dummy it down for me. Okay,
I'm trying.
Okay,
so this is kind of a detailed plan of you've got to figure out what can potentially go wrong, how you can potentially harm your customers or contaminate that food, and develop a plan to address that. So I think we were able to develop the HACCP plan ourselves years back, and we just had our public health inspector. He was nice enough to look over it and just suggest some changes and approve it. But nowadays, it's not that simple. So so the bottom line with that HACCP plan is that we can vacuum seal our vegetables, but we need to take them out, put them in the fridge, and open the vacuum sealed bag to allow air in there. So it's no longer an anaerobic environment at a refrigerator temperature.
I still don't understand that, but so long as you know what's going on and how to do that, that works for me. I'm betting the nonas and the grandmas of yesteryear do not care.
And pages and pages of details for something that can be said in 2 sentences. Anyway,
so the negative part of this, or one of the negative parts as a business, is that it costs. It's a costly process.
It's beneficial from a public health perspective and a safety perspective, but it also is very, very limiting on a business. So we can't do jams. Yeah. We can't do jams. If we want to do jams, we're going to have a HACCP plan for that. If we want to can tomatoes or can our own jams, they've got to be 2 separate HACCP plans for that. Nowadays, you can get a consultant to do the HACCP plan, and that's going to cost you hundreds to, if not thousands of dollars.
A couple thousands they quoted us.
Yeah. So for
per one plan.
Yeah, for maybe 24 a couple cases of jam, I'm not going to spend $2,000 to do that.
Plus the annual fee.
Yeah.
To public health to keep it going.
So I think there are benefits and drawbacks to this. I mean, the obvious benefits are for public safety and restaurant safety and public health, but obviously this is limiting things to a significant degree when maybe a lot of just following the national guidelines, because the government has national canning guidelines out there. And if you follow those,
to get into the difficulties of it.
It's a safe process.
It's not going to get. Needless to say, we were grandfathered in to the HACCP plan with our vegetables and have maintained.
No, there was no grandfathering. We had to develop the HACCP plan.
Well, we did it, and it was in place before some of the more stricter policies and procedures were put in place for that process, because some of the future processes that we wanted to do became more time and costly, and we decided against it.
Yeah, just like the stuff we're doing for ourselves. I mean, we're curing not salami, but we're curing pork belly and prosciutto for our family only, not for the restaurant, not for our customers. But if we were to do that, there'd be a HACCP plan for that as well, costing thousands of dollars.
I do have
so we unfortunately cannot do that.
I know. One of these days, I'll figure out how I can do my homemade salami for our charcuterie boards. Haven't figured that out yet, guys. It's still way down the line.
Yeah, you can't say homemade.
You know what I'm saying.
Okay. So anyway, we're getting a little bit off topic.
So, but the seeds are the beginning of what allows us to bring wonderful, good, homemade and homegrown, I should say, not homemade, homegrown vegetables and food to the table, and what allows us to be the farm-to-table restaurant that we are. And I'm thankful every day that we decided to go into the CSA business, because I learned a lot from that business, and adore and are indebted to the fellow CSA farmers that I met and learned from as we went through the process. And although we can't carry the title of a CSA any longer, we choose not to, I still feel that bringing it to the table in a restaurant capacity allows us a little bit of education and community of like-minded people.
Right, exactly. But full transparency, we try to do as much as we can on the farm.
That we physically can do with the four of us, yes.
But we still have to go to other producers to get stuff. And we still have to go to the grocery store to get some stuff.
Absolutely,
so it's fennel. It can't be
fennel 100%. Is the vegetable that we cannot grow, that we do not know how to grow, and that we have never been good at growing. And yet some of our fellow farmers do wonderful jobs with it, and yet sometimes it's just not in season, and it's a bad fennel year, and we have to go to the grocery store to get that. So it's one of those vegetables that we just things. Now, peppers, on the other hand, last year were very wonderful to us, and we didn't anticipate the crop of peppers we got, and yet we learned to do something with them, and we pickled them, and now we've been eating them, and I wish we had more, because we've gone through our last jar of pickled peppers, and they're so delicious.
There's no more?
There's no more.
You ate them all?
No, you ate them all earlier this week. Yep. So anyway, add that to the list of things to do in the fall.
We'll do that.
So
just to cover, I think we've said enough about seed, because we're getting a little bit short on time. But next weekend is going to be a very special weekend.
Yeah, we talked about Valentine's Day already. Last week we mentioned it
briefly. We mentioned it, but we said we were going to talk about it this week.
Okay.
But we only have 2 people signed up for next week's dinner. Why is that?
I don't know.
Well, tell them what the dinner's going to be.
The dinner is going to be a beautiful torta di riso, and that is a wonderful rice torte that's done with a is it arborio rice? I forget what kind of rice.
We do it with arborio.
But we do it with arborio. And it's done with goodness and milk and cream and cheese. And then what happens is we bake it so that the outside of it is nice and crunchy. And then when you like bite into it, it's so creamy, soft, and good on the inside. And it's one of our family's traditional first courses.
Your family or my family?
Our family. It's our family.
Yeah, it's from my side.
Okay, his side of the family's traditional courses. And we love it. I love it, especially the next morning with a fried egg on top of it because it's so good like that. But it's a nice first course. It's a nice side dish. It's definitely a great thing. So we're starting off with that first. And then we're doing ossobuco, one of those unsung heroes of the meat cuts, in my opinion. So I just love that you slow roast it, and there's vegetables.
You don't slow roast it.
What do you do with it?
Okay, so you take the beef or veal shank, and you tie it to secure it a little bit better.
Right.
But then you have to brine it. So you do the brining, we defrost it, you brine it for how many hours? 4 to 6 hours?
Yeah, somewhere in there.
To give it a little more flavor and to make sure it's nice, it retains all the moisture. And then we pat it dry. We put it in a little bit of flour, and we pan sear it to get it nice and crusty brown. And then we put it, and then we braise it. We braise it with vegetables. We braise it with red wine.
What did I say? Roast it?
You said roast it.
You're sticking it in the oven. You're doing the same thing. You're roasting and braising.
Braising and roasting are two completely different things.
Okay, forgive me. You're braising it in red wine. There you go. Is it better?
That's much better.
Oh, okay, good. And vegetables. Did you say the vegetables?
Vegetables.
Okay. Low and slow.
Low and slow.
For how long?
A long time.
And then it just falls off the bone, and it's wonderful. Now, don't forget the marrow in the middle of the bone, because that's the best thing. And that's why you got to order a loaf of our Italian bread to go with it, because take that marrow out and smear it right on the piece of smear right on the piece of bread, and it's such a delectable little treat. I know lots of Italians who will just take the bone and suck it the marrow right out of the bone. It's so delicious. And then the dessert that night is what?
It's the Campo di Bella Oreos.
Oh, yay, the CBOs. Those are my favorite. Well, yeah, a lot of things are my favorite, but CBOs are...
So it's modified from Thomas Keller's TKOs or Thomas Keller Oreos. So we just made it our own, modified the recipe a little bit. And we actually did not fill it with I think he fills it with buttercream. I
don't remember what he fills it with.
Yeah, we do a nice chocolate mousse, and we pipe it in between the two chocolatey cookies.
And these are cookies. It's actually a pastry, not a cookie, when it's all said and done, because of the mousse in the middle. But it's so delicious. And Mark and I had the opportunity to have an authentic TKO when we went out to Yountville. Now 5 years ago, I guess 5 years ago, for our anniversary. And they were delicious, but I have to admit that Mark's CBOs are much better, in my opinion, than the TKOs. But yeah, great ending to a perfect Valentine's Day.
Sorry, Thomas Keller.
So yeah. So if you're looking for that authentic Italian meal, I know we normally do our spaghetti and meatballs on Lady and the Tramp version of things, but
spaghetti is just not going to.
I was going to say, Mark has issues with doing takeout spaghetti right now, because he just feels by the time you get it home, it would not be to his satisfaction for you to enjoy a good spaghetti and meatball meal. So we're going to have to wait until we can get you all back in-house to do a wonderful spaghetti and meatball dinner.
Yep. So sign up for Valentine's Day as quickly as possible. We shut things down on Wednesday nights, including the bread. So no more opportunities. So you got to sign up for it in advance.
Exactly.
And then the rest of the month, we'll get into a little bit later on, but we've got our Italian pork loin and also braised pork shoulder again.
Is it all listed on the website?
It's on the website.
Just go to the website, and I don't want to bore you guys any longer. Just go to the website.
I didn't know I was boring people.
We are. Anyway, so we're going to cut this. We're going to end it on a happy Valentine's early note. And remember to share the goodness. And don't forget, we have to-go items for those neighbors, friends, family members that may not be getting out and about because of the pandemic. Don't forget about them, and dropping off a nice little food treat is always puts a smile on everybody's face. So keep that in mind.
You know what puts a smile on people's face?
A glass of wine?
Yeah, wine and vermouth. So don't forget that.
That's right. Well, that's a given. So yeah, we have that too if you're interested in that. Just give me a day's notice and I can have it ready for you. But normal pickups for the to-go items are Friday evenings between 4:30 and 6:30 and Saturday afternoons from 2 to 12. And I think that's about it, right?
That's it. Happy
Enjoy
Valentine's
the cold
Day.
this weekend. Stay indoors, stay snugly, and think about your Valentine's menu and including us in that if possible. Hope all is well and have a great weekend. Bye, everybody.
We'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.